6 words. You are where your attention is. Think about how you feel right now, emotionally. Well, that's where your attention is. Think about when you are in a negative emotional state. How about this? When you're in fear, when you're in shame, that's where your attention is. Everything always has been, is now, and will always be fine. What we do is we look at this data point in our life where we are right now. Oh shit, I lost money in the market. I got dumped. I'm getting a divorce. I got fired. But the truth is this: if you look at the continuity of your life, everything always has been, is now, and will be fine. All the fear that you get into, even if you're held at gunpoint, all the fear that you get into, are you ready? Is made up in your mind. You're listening to the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. This episode is like the episode last week, and it's titled Shaman's Tips for an Amazing 2026. Now, as I've mentioned, I'm going to do several episodes like this as the team is working behind the scenes to basically revamp the current podcast. I want to go more in the direction of applied spirituality. Okay, but in this episode, many times people will ask me, Jim, of everything you've ever heard from Don Javier or Don Juan, or even in life, what are the things that mean the most to you? What brings the most value to you? What gives you the most power? What are the things that you live by? Well, I endeavor to live by everything that I share with you guys, but like any of us, there are things that I gravitate towards and things that mean more to me than other things. So in this episode, I want to share 5 top thoughts that I've learned over the years. I've ingrained them into my life. And when you do, these will also dramatically help you improve the quality of your life. Keep listening. Okay, so the 5 things I want to talk about in this particular episode, these are all things that you've heard me say before. There's no question about it. But these are all the foundation of my life. And I look at these 5 things along the lines of being a personal code, meaning these are ways of being, these are thoughts that I live by. They're the foundation of my life. As I'd mentioned in the intro, I'm doing this for now as I'm actually re-strategizing with my team about how we want to shift the podcast. And we're not going to change the name, but we want to change some things about it. So I'm just doing this right now to bring value to you guys. But I kid you not, if you take what I share in these tidbit episodes and you learn them, you come to know them, they will dramatically improve the quality of your life. And these things that I'm sharing, as I've mentioned earlier, you might have heard me say before, repetition is the mother of all learning. And even Don Javier over the years has always said to those of us who work with him, guys, I say things over and over and over again. And the reason that I do is eventually, in some way that I say it, you're going to hear it. And when you do, it'll make a huge difference in your life. So again, you've heard me say all this before, but I'm going to break it down and dig a little bit deeper into it. And as I'm sharing these things with you, and I'll prompt you to do this, think about how this applies to your own life, and then think about how you're not living in the thoughts that I'm going to be sharing with you. Because as I said earlier, this can be life-changing and it's foundational. And what you ideally want to do is bring these foundational thoughts into your ways of being, into your values. You do that, I promise your life is going to get 100 times easier. Number 1, you've heard me say this probably more than any other thing, 6 words. I heard this from Don Javier, I don't know, 2005, 6, 7, thereabouts. I don't know when. It took me a few years to really get my mind around this by my own, just not paying attention to it. But he said, you are where your attention is. You are where your attention is. Think about that. Think about how you feel right now, emotionally. Well, that's where your attention is. Think about when you are in a negative emotional state. How about this? When you're in fear, when you're in shame, that's where your attention is. And when your attention is in a place like that, you literally are miscreating in that moment. I remember hearing someone else one time, he was talking about attention, but not in the way that I do. And he said, and when he said it, I agree with this guy 1,000%. He's a very, very, very big speaker. And he said online personality, social media personality, whatever, influencer, whatever you want to call it. And he's big. Now, I don't listen to anyone. I'll tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone this. Even though my podcast has millions of downloads, and for that, I'm thankful, and I appreciate you guys. In my own life, I think I've listened to one podcast episode of anything ever. I'm just not a podcast person. And by the way, that was on marketing. The guy who wrote Duct Tape Marketing, I think John Jantz was his name many years ago. But this one speaker said, you have to master your attention. Now, how do you misplace your attention? Well, let's talk about some real life scenarios. Here's ways that you would misplace your attention. I hate Joe Biden. I hate Donald Trump. I'm never going to get out of this financial rut. Things are always hard for me. No one likes me. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to get ahead. I don't get what other people get. I don't have what other people have. I'm sick and I don't know what to do about it. Anytime we hold any kind of belief like any of those about people, about places, about things, and their negative beliefs, number one, their beliefs, they're about judgments. But secondly, let me demonstrate what I meant about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Let's say that you don't like broccoli. Okay. You liking or not liking broccoli in no way affects the intrinsic value of broccoli. It's simply a personal preference based upon your own identity. So I know, and by the way, if you're hating on people, you're going to spend the rest of your life as a hater because they're going to be people in your life the rest of your life. You'll spend the rest of your life in these negative emotions unless you make a conscious choice to not spend your life in these emotions, which is my attempt here in this episode. So if you're not driving, and if you are driving, pick up your phone and just record at least this one line. You are where your attention is. And any time that you do not feel good, because that's your tripwire, anytime that you do not feel good about something. Now, I don't mean maybe your grandma passed. I can understand how we could feel sadness about that. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is, I can't believe what that tax bill was. I cannot believe what that dinner bill was. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Trump, 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 Biden, 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 Putin, the war, Afghanistan, whatever it might be in life, my neighbor, my sister-in-law, my family, doesn't matter. When you are in those places, that is where your attention is. And where your attention is where you are. My suggestion is look for places to hold your attention that create value and expansion, not retraction and regression. So, what places would create expansion for you? And I'll make it very simple: gratitude. Now, a lot of people have a problem with that word gratitude. We all know what it means, and we all think that we're grateful about things, but that goes right out the window when, for example, we might think, oh, yeah, I'm a grateful person. But then we complain about the cost of electricity in our home, or we complain about the cost of a car, not even recognizing that, wow, this is amazing. I have electricity. I have a car. I have shoes. I have these things. A word that may work better for you is appreciation. So as I mentioned in a money program I just did, when you look at the meaning, the monetary meaning of appreciation, it means, are you ready? It means growth. So that's where I keep my attention, or literally I'm conscious of keeping my attention, is in appreciation. Because appreciation energetically, both psychologically and energetically, meaning in terms of my frequency and vibration, is growth. So, number one, you are where your attention is. You will find that to be airtight when you look into it. Please do not do as I did for probably 5 years and dismiss it as this kind of like, oh, really cool thought over here. No, effing learn this, bring it into your life. Don Juan Matus said this to me decades ago. Everything always has been, is now, and will always be fine. When you look at the continuity of your life, you will find that to be true. However, what we do is we look at this data point in our life where we are right now. Oh shit, I lost money in the market. I got dumped. I'm getting a divorce. I got fired. Whatever it might be for you, I was just diagnosed with an illness. Whatever it might be with you. And then what we do, go back to point number one, you are where your attention is. Then what we do is we move our attention to, oh my God, I lost my job. I got shot down asking somebody else for a date. Or this person I started dating dumped me. Or I don't know what I'm going to do for money, whatever it might be. But the truth is this, if you look at the continuity of your life, and to prove that, look at your own life, everything always has been, is now, and will be fine. When I had a stroke and heart failure in 2020, I recall very clearly that when I had the heart failure first, I was in the hospital. The doctor was surprised because I was joking about it. And the reason I was joking about it is because I knew I would be fine no matter what happened, because I knew that I wasn't the only person on the planet that had ever had heart failure. And I remember when they did a stress test, and they shoot you up with a dye and all that kind of stuff. And they found that my heart was working at 34% of capacity. And I remember joking with the people who did the test. I'm like, hey guys, has anybody ever kicked the bucket doing this? And they said, well, no. You got to fill out all these forms, And they said no. And I'm like, well, hopefully I'm not your first kick in the bucket. You're doing this. That's how cavalier and jovial I was about it. Because no matter what happened, I knew I was going to be fine. Don Javier helped me heal. But when I had the stroke 6 months later, and again, doctors don't know why any of this stuff happened, but I'm glad that it did. My neurologist said to me, he said, I thought you said in your medical record said you had heart failure. Your heart is stronger than most people's heart. So what he was saying is my heart was fine. In a particular data point moment, we might say things are not fine. But when you look at the continuity of your life, everything is fine. When this was many, many years ago when I lived in New York City, I used to teach hypnosis at the Hypnosis Institute. And I met a gentleman there named Danny, who we had many people on holistic arts that would come to our different kinds of programs. And a guy named Danny, he was a massage therapist, and I wanted some body work. I worked out a lot back then, and I wanted some body work. And even 25 years later, I remember how good the body work was. And I said, where did you learn? You're a maestro. You're a master of body work and managing a body. Where did you learn this? And he said, well, about 5 years ago, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with my life. I was lost. He said, I decided to go to Europe to, air quote, find myself. And he said, I was in a really bad car accident that put me in the hospital for 3 months before I went to Europe. And he goes, I became so fascinated when I would watch the physical therapist working with my body, that in that moment, I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life. It was a natural calling for him. The bigger point, whether you're getting a divorce, someone in your family has just transitioned over, no matter who they are, it could even be a child. Often we say, well, that's not fair. A kid, they were only 1 year old. Why did they leave the planet? Or why did that 5-year-old child have cancer? How is that fine? Well, you're only looking at it from this side of the veil, from the 3D. What you're not asking yourself is, what is their karma? What are they here to learn this lifetime? So I know, and I operate from that place, that no matter what happens, now I'm going to tell you the truth here. There are things that happen that I'm like, that's not my favorite thing. I would have preferred that it happened some other way. Or I can't believe that shit happened. I don't like that. I'm no different than you guys. I mean, there are things that my ego likes, things that my ego doesn't like. And for sure, I could say, I don't like that this happened. Well, number one is I don't keep my attention there. I move it very quickly. But secondly, it doesn't matter, because one day, as you've heard me say, and this applies to all of you guys, you're all going to be a dead bag of skin. You really are. You're going to be a dead bag of skin, and it's not going to matter. And so then people tend to go to the bigger picture thinking, oh, okay, so nothing matters because I'm a dead bag of skin. Well, in this moment, the choices that you make matter, and they create, and we want to live our life fully. But what I know is that things, and I'm sure you know this, things aren't always going to go as I have them planned to go. A couple of years ago, when I was promoting TCP, I put $400,000 into ads and the marketing was off, different things were off. We broke even. We didn't make a lot of money. Wasn't the way I had planned it to happen. Wasn't the way that it had happened in the past. But you know what? That's what happened. And that was probably 4 years ago, and things are fine. Let that sink in. Everything always has been, is now, and will always be fine. And Don Juan meant it from a deeper level. And what he meant is things were fine before you came to the planet. Are fine while you're on the planet, even if your ego thinks they are not fine. And things are going to be fine once you leave the planet. That, my friend, is a truism. Another one I mentioned before, and I've learned this from Don Javier, and this one is a big practical application one. Don Javier said to me one time, and he meant spiritual warrior, when the warrior stops talking to himself, even the craziest of tasks become possible. Think about that. When the warrior stops talking to himself, even the craziest of tasks become possible. So you look at people who do things that we think are impossible and look at other people who say, there's no way that's possible. Look at Howard Hughes back in the 1940s and 30s when he built, what did he call it, the Grey Goose? And people said a lot of that was impossible. He didn't think that way. At least the old wives' tale have it. Look at Henry Ford when he told his engineers to build a V8, and they said it was impossible. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know if it happened that way, but Henry Ford just said, get back to work, make it happen. And obviously they figured it out. So we tend to rule out things very, very quickly, not because they're possible or impossible, so to speak. It's because we talk to ourselves about that thing, saying that is completely impossible. What many of us say is that, well, that's not realistic. Anytime you say that's not realistic, do you fully recognize that you're living from your own model of reality? And that's a very limited model of reality. One of my friends, somebody that I've also coached, his goal about 5 years ago was to become a billionaire. And I've known this person for 15 years. I've coached him professionally. And even as a friend, he's a big online entrepreneur. When he's got challenges, he'll call me because I'm able to see where his blocks are and get him out of it very quickly. Well, today, 5 years ago, he said he wanted to be a billionaire. Now, for me personally, I just don't have any interest in that. It just doesn't speak to me because my thinking is, I mean, how many yachts can you water ski behind? I do very well financially. I mean, what else do you need? And even if I didn't do well, I grew up poor and I was happy for many years when I was poor. But my friend now is worth about $500 million. It's not impossible for him. So we tend to talk we talk our way out of things or into things. Let me give you some very specific real life examples. Everyone can relate to this, or most everyone. Let's say that you say you want to get back into shape again. You want to release 10 pounds, whatever it might be. So then what happens is part of you is like, yeah, I want to start working out again. But then another part of you is, oh, come on, you're tired, you're low energy, you don't have the motivation, but mainly you don't have the time. It's raining out today, it's cold out today. Your gym bag different things. You don't have protein shakes, whatever it might be. The whole point is you can talk yourself into things or you can talk yourself out of things. I know that about myself. So for me, I literally just tell myself, and I do say this because I know me and I know that I can talk myself into like one of my secret habits. I don't know if that's the right word, secret habits, but chocolate. I love chocolate ice cream, but I don't keep it in the house. Why? Because if I do, then I know that I may want it at some point. That I've observed my behavior, and I'll go through 6 months and not even touch any ice cream, and then for 3 months I want ice cream. But I know if I don't bring it into the house, I ain't gonna touch it because I'm not gonna, get up at 8:30 at night, put my shoes on, and go to the store to buy chocolate ice cream. I'm not gonna do it. But even when I've had things in the house, cookies, whatever, because I go through a phase of having a sweet tooth where I won't have a sweet tooth for a year, then I'll have a sweet tooth for 3 months. Many of you can relate in some, probably some variants of that. But if I know, for example, and I say I want some ice cream, but let's say I'm busy, like really working out and I'm on a really good workout regimen, I know if I allow myself to talk to myself, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, that little voice in the back of your head, have the ice cream, little voice whispering at you. I know, damn it, I'm going to have the ice cream. So, what I say to myself is stop talking. And then back to point number one, move my attention. That right there, you start doing that, manage your self talk about how consistent you're becoming at it, your life will change and improve dramatically. When it comes to healing, the warrior stops talking. This is well before I was ever sick in 2020. We were standing in my kitchen and Don Javier was talking about how when we talk to ourselves, we direct the cells in our body. So when we say things like, oh, my body hurts so bad. I'm so sick. I'm so sick. I'm so sick. Number one, notice what we're doing. We are talking to ourselves about being sick. And if we're talking to ourselves about being sick, do you think it's possible then to be well? No, it's not, because look where your attention is. So, what I learned many years ago is what Don Javier told me is that whatever you say to yourself, your mental thoughts direct the cells in your body. So if you say, I am so sick, I am so sick, and that is your self talk, you are directing your cells to make that so for you. So we either have to stop that talk completely or shift it to, I'm 100% well. Even though we might not consciously, air quote, believe it yet, we are now directing the cells in the body to work from that place. Being transparent, probably 5 years ago, Don Javier and I were talking about buying a home in Mexico. We could just go on vacation with family. And there was a home that I found, and I'm a firm believer only for me. You might have a different philosophy, and that's great. You have yours, I have mine. I am a firm believer in no debt. Personally, I think debt is slavery, unless you're leveraging debt to build a business and you're leveraging the debt in a way that's going to make you more money. But as far as just creating debt for things, that's not what I'm about financially. And I was talking to Don Javier one day about a home that I found. I'm a little reluctant to share the price point, but it was way up there in the millions. And I said to him, it's a quote. I said, it's not on my budget right now. And he said to me, but notice what I said, because I was talking to myself. It's not in my budget right now. And he said to me, oh, it is in your budget right now. You just don't know it. Think about that, because that is a truism. Anything you want in your life is within your reach right now. You just don't know it because you cannot see it for yourself. Good friend of mine, New York City, many years ago, he used to constantly say, which blew my mind, there are no good women left in Manhattan. He was in his mid 30s. I was probably 33, he's 35, single guy. And he constantly just, it was like a broken record. There are no good women in Manhattan. And my thought was, what the hell are you talking about? There are 8 million people that live in Manhattan, 4 million of those are women. And you can't find one air quote good woman out of 4 million women? Who's the problem, guys? Notice your self talk and realize this. Number three, when the warrior stops talking, even the craziest of tasks become possible. I use this from very big things in life to very mundane things in life. Mundane things would be, let's say that I made something in the kitchen and I made a mess in the kitchen. That would be a mundane thing. And then many times we mess up the kitchen and then we start thinking, oh my God, what a mess. I don't want to clean it up right now. We're already talking to ourselves. So even to the minutest, smallest things, if I find myself giving myself resistance in that moment, stop talking to yourself. Move your attention. You, right now, you practice that. I promise you, you will start noticing results in your life within a week. Number four, many of you are in this place. I used to be many years ago. When I had the stroke and heart failure, when the ER doctor walked in, he said to me very matter of factly, and I appreciate the way that he did it. His body language was just like, okay, we got your this. It was just like this because we got your results back. You're in heart failure. My thought was, okay. I didn't go into fear about it. And I promise you, listening here, it surprises me that it didn't bother me at all. And when I was in the hospital, the worst part of the hospital was not that I had heart failure or a stroke. To me, it was the energetic toxicity, which I could feel of the fear in the hospital. It was suffocating to me. But the fear? Nah, not one time. And I swear to you, on the Bible, the Torah, the Kabbalah, the Quran, the I Ching, Declaration of Independence, or whatever you want, I never got in the fear ever about it. Why? Because I also knew that everything was okay and everything was going to be okay. But many of us confuse danger with fear. Danger is when your life is in imminent danger. Fear could be, and it's generally emotionally and mental, when, oh my gosh, they're not going to like me. I'm not going to get this job. What if I can't move to Dallas? Or what if I can't go here? What if my flight is late? What if I miss the wedding? Whatever it might be. So notice there's a difference between fear and danger. And even in danger, I can't say what I would do. I'm not afraid to leave the planet. I can't say what I would do if somebody held a gun to my head, but I know that when I was in the hospital and doctors, neurologists, and cardiologists were filling me full of fear or trying to fill me full of fear, I just ignored it. So that's where I work from is that, okay, here's the quote. Number 4, a warrior does not preoccupy himself with his fear. And Don Javier meant a spiritual warrior. A spiritual warrior does not preoccupy himself with his fear. Think about that word preoccupy or those words. I don't know, is that one word or two? But anyway, how much do you preoccupy yourself with your fear? Oh my God. And notice this most of it's just nonsensical self talk because you're talking to yourself. Am I pretty enough? Am I handsome enough? Are they going to like me? Are they going to reject me? Am I smart enough for this job? I can't lose weight, and people are going to say bad things about me. People are going to judge me. I'm not as good as everyone else. And we preoccupy ourselves with our self talk, which is from the previous point, the one I just talked about, the number 3 point. We preoccupy ourselves with our self talk, which is then bathed in fear. Stop it. A warrior, and now I can't tell you how to live your life, but I look at my life as I desire to live as a warrior. Doesn't mean I'm perfect at it because I sure as hell know that I'm not. I've got my on days and off days. Some days are better than others. Some hours are better than others. But the reality is, I'm the type of person that I find for me that life is too short to spend it wrapped up and waddled in my fear. Ask yourself this what is your intention? What is your intention for your fear? Ponder that one. And then think about this whatever your intention is what you generally manifest. I want to keep this really simple here, okay? Then I'm going to move on. I'm going to tell you a truism. Think about this because when you think about this, you will find it to be true. All the fear that you get into, even if you're held at gunpoint, all the fear that you get into, are you ready? Is made up in your mind. All the fear that you get up into or get into is made up in your mind. I know that about me. And I'm asking you, I'm requesting, look at that in you. All the shit, all the nonsense that you get into is nothing more than an illusion in your head that you are making up in your head. Stop it. Be a warrior. Okay, here's the last one. I did not hear from Don Javier. This is from Eliaphis Levi. I've said it before, probably a dozen times on the podcast. If somebody said, what is your favorite quote, not from Don Javier or Don Juan, pretty easy for me. Fear is the idleness of will. Fear is the idleness of will. Let me put that in very, very crass terms. If I'm sitting on my ass, it's easy to get into fear. But if I'm taking action and I'm moving, it's very easy to get out of fear. So you think about, okay, I'm in fear about XYZ. Let's say that you just lost your job. Let's say that you've been diagnosed with an illness. Let's say that somebody just left you and you're afraid of being alone. Notice all these scenarios, real life scenarios. Now, notice what a lot of people do. They lose their job. Oh, poor me. What am I going to do? Worry, 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 fear, CNN, Fox News, Reuters, economy, whatever it might be, fear, fear, fear. I'm worried. Not me. If that happened to me, I'd be saying, okay, what's my next step? Because I know that if I just do something, now be careful there. When I said, what is my next step? Even when I don't know my next step, I take a step. Why? Because taking a step will lead to clarity. Most people go into shutdown. Oh my gosh, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. Or I feel bad, I'm afraid, I feel bad, I'm afraid. Wrong. Get into action. Action is what brings clarity. Clarity is what pulls you out of the fear. So anything in life we can be in fear about: losing money, being dumped, health, a health diagnosis, whatever. Don Javier and I talked about that, and I talked about that on 2 or 3 episodes. He was saying one night at dinner that when people get an undesirable medical diagnosis, the first place that a lot of people go is into fear. Let's say that somebody's been diagnosed with cancer. The first thing they do is go into fear, and he said that's the last place they need to be going. Where they need to be going to is, okay, how do I want to manage my thinking? In what ways do I want to manage my thinking? How do I want to manage this from the position of being well, not from the position of being ill and unhealthy? So you think about that for a moment. And where I work from is, I'm gonna put this to business terms. Another brother-in-law that I mentioned 1 or 2 times in the podcast used to be a mutual fund manager for $1 trillion company. And back about a year ago, he said, hey, Jim, start buying this particular precious metal. I wasn't in fear about it at all. I was more in complacency about it. And once this precious metal started taking off again, he's like, Jim, I'm telling you, buy. And I was like, we'll see what happens. Whatever. No, I don't know that there was any fear about that. It was more just like, I don't know, because I don't know what's in my subconscious mind about that. Anyway, that precious metal has doubled in value since when he told me to buy it. And I had quite a bit of money in the bank that I wanted to stock up on precious metals. I missed an opportunity because of not my fear, but are you ready? My idleness. What I'm sharing with you guys here, I'm not immune. This all applies to me. Now, fear and idleness are two different things, but many times when we go into fear is when we become idle. The situation I just gave you, I wasn't in fear, but I was in idle and I lost out. So when you get into the idleness, that is when you are going to lose. A couple of days ago, I was watching Warren Buffett on some YouTube video, and he talked about a lot of people. He was talking about precious metals, and he talked about people that could afford it were literally thinking, which is that it's been this way for thousands of years. Anytime there was like significant economic insecurity, people literally flocked to precious metals. And he said that's an illusion because the world is different now than it's been for the past 2,000 years. And he said the way to create more what we call security is to become immersed in technology. And then what he said was, and he wasn't denigrating or dismissing precious metals at all, but what he was saying, for thousands of years, people have always regressed, and then they sought the safe haven of metals. And what he said was, is that worked for thousands of years, but in the future, the wealth is in the technology. And here's what he said. Simple line, which will validate what I'm telling you guys a little earlier. Don't settle on any investment, whether it's any kind of stock, precious metals, whatever. Do not settle on any kind of investment and think it's your safe haven. Keep moving. That's exactly what he said. Keep moving. So I know fear, because movement is the opposite of idleness. So when I am in movement, when I am in action, would have no reason to get into fear because I'm not being idle and I'm creating by being in the action. So let's recap these very quickly and we will wrap up today. So number one is write these down, please. Write them down, put them on your bathroom mirror and read every one for a week and just sit with it for just 15 seconds each one and start trying it on for size to see how it fits for you. Number one, and you will find them, as I said, to be true for you. You are where your attention is. Number two, everything always has been, is now, and will always be fine. Number three, when the warrior stops talking, even the craziest of tasks become possible. Number four, a warrior does not occupy himself with his or her fear. And then number five, my bonus one for you guys is fear is the idleness of will. You take these, put them on your bathroom mirror, your refrigerator. You start bringing these principles in your life, and I guarantee you, 30 days from now, you'll be telling me how your life is changing. Okay, so there's no transformational takeaway per se this particular week. I'll catch you back next week, and we'll keep talking about these tidbits and these principles that can help you live an amazing 2026. I appreciate you listening, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.